several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views.
During a closed-door FBI interrogation on October 3, 2025, Erika Kirk broke down and admitted she orchestrated the entire assassination of her husband, Charlie Kirk, according to leaked interrogation transcripts obtained by an anonymous raider. Federal source: Erika confessed to spending months manipulating Tyler Robinson through encrypted messages, carefully grooming the 22-year-old's political radicalization, and feeding him specific talking points about Charlie's mortality schedule. Hateful rhetoric. The transcripts reveal that Erika provided Tyler with detailed security information about the Utah Valley University event, including blind spots in campus surveillance, the exact positioning of Charlie's security detail, and the optimal rooftop location for the shot. She allegedly coached Tyler on how to discard the rifle, which escape routes to use, and even scripted the too much hate confession he would later give his parents. What's most disturbing is that Erika admitted her motive was taking control of Turning Point USA. She'd grown tired of being in Charlie's shadow and saw his assassination as the perfect opportunity to become the face of the conservative movement while playing the sympathetic widow role that would make her untouchable. The shooting that killed 31-year-old Charlie Kirk happened at Utah Valley University during what was supposed to be the first stop of Turning Point USA's American Comeback Tour. Charlie was answering a question about gun violence when a single shot struck him in the neck from about 150 yards away. The whole thing went down at exactly 12:23 p.m. Mountain Time, and the campus immediately went into lockdown. Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old from Washington, Utah, climbed onto the roof of the Lozzie Center building with this old Mauser rifle his grandpa had given him. After taking the shot, surveillance cameras caught him jumping off the roof and running into some woods nearby where he ditched the weapon. The FBI went crazy trying to find him, getting like 7,000 tips in the first few hours alone, apparently the most since the Boston Marathon bombing back in 2013. What's wild is how Tyler got caught. His own dad, Matthew Robinson, saw the FBI photos on TV and was like, "Oh shit, that's my kid." The whole family was watching the news when these grainy surveillance images popped up showing this dude in dark clothes running away from campus. Matthew showed the pics to his wife Amber, and they both knew it was Tyler immediately. According to the court documents, Matthew straight up called Tyler and asked him to send a photo of his grandfather's rifle. When Tyler didn't respond, the dad knew something was seriously wrong. The phone call between Tyler and his dad after that must have been brutal. Tyler basically admitted to doing it, but then said he'd rather kill himself than go to jail. Matthew spent hours trying to talk him down, while also making sure Tyler would face consequences for what he did. Tyler ended up driving like 260 miles south to his parents' house to talk face-to-face, and that's when he confessed everything. He told them he did it because Charlie Kirk spreads too much hate, and there's too much evil in the world. His parents got their family friend, this retired deputy sheriff who volunteers at their Mormon church, to convince Tyler to turn himself in. On September 12th, Matthew drove Tyler to the Washington County Sheriff's Office around 10 p.m. And just like that, the manhunt was over. Trump announced it on Fox and Friends the next morning, giving props to the dad for choosing what's right over protecting his kid. The text messages they found on Tyler's phone showed he'd been talking to his transgender roommate about the whole thing. One message from the morning of the shooting literally said, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Prosecutors hit Tyler with a ton of charges: aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, 2 counts of witness tampering, and committing a violent crime in front of a child. Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray announced they're going for the death penalty, calling Charlie's murder an American tragedy. Tyler's first court appearance was on September 16th, and he showed basically zero emotion when they read the charges. His next hearing got scheduled for September 29th. Body language experts started breaking down her public appearances frame by frame, and what they found didn't sit right with a lot of people. Tracy Brown, who's apparently ranked as one of the top 3 body language experts in the world, did this whole analysis of Erika's memorial speech. She pointed out that Erika's facial expressions didn't match up with what she was saying or the emotion in her voice. Brown mentioned that it's probably partly because of Botox, like the stuff keeps your eyebrows and chin from moving the way they normally would when you're emotional. So your emotions don't come across the way you intend them to, and sometimes you can't even feel them yourself properly. But Brown also said the mismatches were happening so close together and so often that it could ring as performative. People who watched the memorial felt something was off but couldn't quite put their finger on it. The composure was almost too perfect, like she'd rehearsed exactly how to look while talking about her dead husband. Her mascara stayed flawless through the whole thing, which Brown even joked about. But the real issue was this disconnect between what Erika's face showed and what her words were supposed to convey. Online communities went nuts analyzing every second of her appearances. Frame-by-frame breakdowns on TikTok and YouTube showed moments where Erika's expression would stay completely neutral while talking about devastating details. Some people defended her, saying everyone grieves differently, and she was probably just trying to hold it together for the cameras. But others felt like they were watching someone act out grief rather than actually experiencing it. What made it weirder was how consistent her behavior was across different appearances. Whether she was on camera or giving speeches, Erika maintained this same level of controlled emotion that felt almost rehearsed. The pattern was too uniform, too predictable. People started calling it the emotional script she was following. The reactions to Erika's behavior split pretty hard along political lines. Conservative commentators and guests on Fox Nation jumped to defend her, saying her composure should be seen as spiritual strength, not lack of genuine emotion. They argued that her ability to stay composed while continuing Charlie's mission showed incredible faith and dedication to something bigger than herself. These defenders painted Erika as this warrior widow who refused to let grief destroy the movement her husband built. They compared her to historical figures who had to lead during personal tragedy, framing her controlled demeanor as leadership rather than performance. The narrative became about how liberal investigation began a test of a more seriously handly system. Conservative woman who threatened their agenda. But then you had shows like Real Body Talk and videos from psychologists like Dr. Grams who were pointing out specific moments that seemed calculated down to the millisecond. They'd freeze frame her expressions and show how her face would shift at precise moments that didn't match natural emotional responses. The technical breakdowns got pretty detailed, talking about micro-expressions, timing of blinks, and when she'd pause for effect. The divide wasn't just about politics, though. It became this whole debate about how women are expected to grieve publicly versus how men grieve. Some people argued that if a man stayed composed after losing his wife, everyone would praise his strength. But when Erika did it, suddenly she was being accused of faking her emotions. The double standard argument gained traction, especially among conservative women who felt like Erika was being unfairly scrutinized. On the flip side, critics weren't backing down. They kept pointing to the patterns in her behavior that suggested everything was being carefully managed for public consumption. The way she'd deliver certain lines, the timing of her tears, the moments when she'd let her voice crack, it all felt too orchestrated. These weren't random observations anymore. People were building full analytical breakdowns, with timestamps and comparisons to other public figures in similar situations. Erika's first real public statement came when she took over hosting duties for the Charlie Kirk show. This was like 2 days after Charlie got killed, and she went straight into talking about faith and how it was guiding her through everything. She promised that she wouldn't let hate have the last word, which became this rallying cry for Turning Point supporters. The way she framed Charlie's death was all through this religious lens, talking about how he was on a work trip with Jesus, when she had to explain to their 3-year-old daughter why daddy wasn't coming home. They've thought through exactly how to make it sound both tragic and hopeful. During that first appearance, Erika laid out her vision for continuing Charlie's work. She talked about expanding Turning Point USA, keeping the podcast going, and making sure the American Comeback Tour would continue despite what happened. Her voice would crack at strategic moments, but then she'd power through with this determined energy that felt almost theatrical. The religious framing served multiple purposes. It gave Erika a way to process the tragedy publicly, while also positioning herself as someone carrying out a divine mission. Charlie's death wasn't just a senseless murder. It was part of some larger plan that she was now responsible for executing. This narrative resonated hard with the conservative Christian base that Turning Point had cultivated. But the faith talk also provided cover for any behavior that might seem off. If someone questioned why she was so composed or why certain reactions seemed planned, supporters could point to her spiritual strength as the explanation. The religious framework made it harder to criticize without looking like you were attacking someone's faith during the worst moment of their life. 8 days after Charlie died, Turning Point USA's board unanimously voted to make Erika the new CEO and board chair. This wasn't completely out of nowhere. Apparently, Charlie had told multiple executives that's what he wanted if something ever happened to him. Tyler Bowier, the organization's COO, posted on X that Erika is one with Charlie and Charlie is one with Erika, which felt both sweet and kind of creepy, depending on how you read it. The announcement came with this whole statement about not surrendering or kneeling before evil, and how they'd carry on Charlie's mission no matter what. Erika went from being the supportive wife in the background to suddenly running one of the most influential conservative youth organizations in America. The transition happened so fast that it almost seemed planned, like everyone knew exactly what to do when the moment came. Turning Point USA had a presence on 3,500 campuses nationwide when Charlie died, and after his assassination, they got flooded with over 54,000 requests to start new chapters. The organization was basically exploding with new interest, and Erika was now the one steering all of it. She promised to make Turning Point the biggest thing this nation has ever seen, which was a bold claim considering she'd never run anything at this scale before. Erika's background was pretty different from Charlie's. She'd been Miss Arizona USA back in 2012, played college basketball at Arizona State, and ran a Christian clothing line called Proclaim Streetwear. She also had this devotional podcast and was working on getting a doctorate in biblical studies from Liberty University. None of that really screamed CEO of major political organization. But here she was taking the reins. The speed of her rise raised eyebrows. One week she's explaining to her toddler why daddy isn't coming back, and the next week she's running a multi-million-dollar organization with national influence. Critics pointed out that grief usually doesn't work that way. Most people can barely function after losing a spouse, let alone immediately step into a massive leadership role. But supporters saw it as evidence of her exceptional strength and dedication to Charlie's legacy. What made it even more interesting was how Erika had positioned herself before Charlie died. She'd always talked about prioritizing marriage and motherhood over career, preaching about biblical womanhood and submission to her husband's leadership. But now, she was taking over as CEO of a major political organization, which seemed to contradict everything she'd been saying about women's roles. The cognitive dissonance was wild. Tyler Robinson came from what looked like a supernormal conservative Mormon family in Washington, Utah. Both his parents, Matthew and Amber, were registered Republicans who raised their kids with traditional values. His mom had literally posted on Facebook about how Tyler was a genius after he scored in the 99th percentile on the ACT. Everything seemed fine on the surface, but somewhere along the way, Tyler's politics shifted hard. His mom told investigators that he'd started dating his transgender roommate and became more pro-gay and trans rights-oriented, which created major tension in the household. The relationship sparked a bunch of arguments, especially between Tyler and his dad, who had very different political views. At a family dinner right before the shooting, Tyler had mentioned that Charlie Kirk was coming to Utah Valley University and talked about how much he disagreed with Kirk's viewpoints. That conversation became evidence of premeditation when Tyler backed. Prosecutors built their case. Tyler had basically announced his target at dinner, and nobody realized what was actually going down. The FBI found text messages between Tyler and his transgender roommate that showed Tyler had been planning this for a while. He'd written about needing to retrieve a rifle from a drop point and leaving the rifle in a bush. On the morning of the shooting, he sent a message saying, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I'm going to take it." When his roommate asked why, Tyler responded, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out." Tyler had also engraved messages on the bullet casings they found with the rifle. One bullet said, "Hey fascist, catch!" which prosecutors used to prove the political motivation behind fake news. The assassination. Other engravings referenced video game culture and anti-fascist stuff, painting a picture of someone who got radicalized through online communities. What's crazy is how Tyler went from being a Trump-supporting conservative teenager to a political assassin in just a few years. Former classmates said he was die-hard Trump bag high school, which made his transformation even more shocking. Nobody knew what changed or when exactly it happened, but somewhere between high school and age 22, Tyler completely flipped. The role Matthew Robinson played in turning in his son became this huge story. Human behavior experts called it almost unheard of. For a parent to choose justice over protecting their kid, the decision basically guaranteed that Tyler would face the death penalty if prosecutors got their way, which meant Matthew and Amber had to live with knowing they helped put their son on death row. The whole situation highlighted how political division was literally tearing families apart. Here you had a conservative Mormon family destroyed because their son radicalized in the opposite direction and decided to kill one of the most prominent figures in the movement his parents supported. It is like the ultimate nightmare scenario for American polarization. Charlie Kirk's memorial service at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, became this massive event with over 90,000 people showing up. President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance both spoke, along with a bunch of other prominent Republicans. The Department of Homeland Security designated it as a special event assessment rating level 1, which they reserve for events of the highest national significance. Erika was obviously one of the main speakers, and this is where things got really interesting. She delivered this whole speech about continuing Charlie's mission and not letting hate win, but it was the technical details people focused on. Security footage from backstage showed Erika doing multiple run-throughs of her speech with production staff, timing her pauses and practicing where she'd let her voice break. The memorial became less about mourning Charlie and more about launching Erika's new role as Turning Point's leader. She used the platform to announce expanded initiatives, new campus tours, and bigger plans for America Fest in December. It cried. Felt more like a political rally than a funeral at times. What stood out was how polished everything was. The whole event was produced like a major media spectacle, with a full-blown squad, multiple camera angles, professional lighting, and carefully choreographed moments. Erika's entrance, her positioning on stage, even the timing of when she'd wipe away tears, it all felt managed by a team of consultants rather than organic grief. People who attended said the atmosphere was weird. There was this disconnect between the tragedy being commemorated and the triumphalist energy Erika was projecting about the future. She talked about Charlie's death, igniting a fire within her, making the cries of this widow echo around the world like a battle cry. The language was aggressive and defiant rather than sorrowful. Critics pointed out that Erika seemed more focused on consolidating power than processing loss. The memorial became a vehicle for establishing her authority over Turning Point and setting the tone for her leadership. Within hours of the memorial ending, Turning Point was already promoting Erika's upcoming speaking tour and selling tickets to events featuring her as the headliner. The whole production value of the memorial raised questions about priorities. Did they really need the massive stadium, the professional production team, the carefully scripted speeches? Or was this an opportunity to transform Erika from grieving widow into political leader on the biggest stage possible? The optics suggested the latter. One particularly bizarre moment came when Erika publicly forgave Tyler Robinson during her speech. She said something about how Charlie would want her to show grace even to his killer, which got mixed reactions from the crowd. Some saw it as powerful Christian forgiveness. Others thought it was a calculated move to position herself as morally superior and spiritually advanced. The timing felt off either way, like maybe process the grief before making grand statements about forgiveness. So here's where everything circles back to that leaked interrogation that started this whole thing. On October 3, 2025, the ALGANNSSPIGA FBI brought Erika in for questioning, and she completely broke down and confessed to orchestrating Charlie's murder. The interrogation transcripts that leaked through encrypted channels show exactly how she spent months grooming Tyler Robinson, feeding his radicalization through burner phones and encrypted apps that investigators struggled to trace. The confession included insanely specific details about how Erika provided Tyler with inside information about the Utah Pass Valley University event. She knew the exact positioning of security, the blind spots in campus surveillance, and which rooftop would give Tyler the clearest shot. She walked Tyler through the escape route and told him exactly where to ditch the rifle to maximize his chances of getting away initially. Internet sleuths analyzed every word of these leaked documents, comparing the language to Erika's known speech patterns and verifying details against what came out in Tyler's court case. The transcripts showed Erika coaching Tyler on what to say when he got caught, including that too much hate line he used with his parents. She literally scripted his confession. The motive she laid out in the confession was straight up power hungry. Erika told FBI agents she was tired of being Charlie's accessory and wanted to run Turning Point USA herself. She saw the assassination as a way to eliminate Charlie while positioning herself as the grieving widow who'd be beyond criticism. The sympathy protected her from scrutiny while she took control of everything Charlie built. What makes this especially twisted is how the timeline matched up perfectly. Erika started working on Tyler months before the shooting, slowly pushing him further left politically and feeding him information about Charlie's positions on trans rights that she knew would trigger Tyler. She identified Tyler as the perfect patsy, young, impressionable, already struck, struggling with his family's conservative values, and dating a transgender person who could serve as additional motivation. The leaked transcripts describe how Erika created fake social media accounts to interact with Tyler in Discord groups, reinforcing his radicalization without ever directly telling him to kill Charlie. She kept pushing him toward that conclusion, making it seem like Tyler's own idea when really she'd been manipulating him the whole time. The grooming process was sophisticated enough that Tyler genuinely believed he was acting on his own convictions. The FBI hasn't publicly commented on the interrogation or confirmed the leaked transcripts officially, but multiple independent sources verified the document's authenticity through forensic analysis of the file metadata and cross-referencing with sealed court filings. The transcripts exist in official FBI case files, and the leak came from someone with direct access to the investigation. The behavioral patterns that experts flagged suddenly make perfect sense now that the confession is out. The rehearsed emotions, the calculated public appearances, the seamless transition to power, all of it was explained by someone who'd been planning this takeover for months and had her response prepared before Charlie even died. The grief wasn't real, because she wasn't actually grieving. She was executing the final phase of her plan. The details in those transcripts are weirdly specific because they're real. They mention things about the investigation that weren't public knowledge when they leaked. The documents detailed Tyler's Discord messages, the security layout at Utah Valley University, and the specific phrases Erika used to manipulate Tyler, all matching up perfectly with information that eventually became public through court filings. People noticed that Erika's behavior changed after October 3rd, the date of the interrogation. She became less visible publicly, started declining certain interview requests, and seemed way more guarded in her social media posts. That wasn't just normal adjustment to her new role, it was evidence of guilt after she realized her confession was now part of the federal record and could leak at any moment. The conspiracy theories turned out to be based on real connections. Some people at Turning Point's board actually knew about Erika's plan and supported it because they wanted Charlie out, but couldn't remove him themselves. The leaked transcripts revealed text messages between Erika and at least 2 board members, discussing how Charlie's death would open new opportunities for the organization's evolution. They were all in on it together. Erika Kirk went from supportive life to absolute control of a major conservative organization in less than 2 weeks because she'd been planning it for months. Her public behavior raised red flags that body language experts caught because she was performing the greatest act in recent political history. The interrogation transcripts proved it was all performance, that she'd planned Charlie's death to seize power and used Tyler Robinson as the disposable tool to make it happen. The truth is, in those leaked FBI documents and case files, Charlie Kirk's assassination benefited Erika more than anyone else, elevating her from secondary figure to leader of a movement overnight. She orchestrated that outcome through months of calculated manipulation, grooming Tyler Robinson and feeding him the information he needed to kill her husband. We're looking at one of the most calculated murders for power in American political history, committed by the woman who now stands as the face of conservative youth activism, protected by the sympathy of widowhood while running the empire she killed to control. The FBI has the confession on record, the evidence is overwhelming, and Erika Kirk admitted to everything during that October 3rd interrogation that changed the entire narrative of Charlie Kirk's assassination.